Oh, hello everybody. Looks like we're all up and running. Welcome to today's Friday Live. Very good to see you all. Thank you for coming. So today is one of those live streams where I'm just going to paint. Sometimes, most of the time, I'm trying to teach something and I have a specific idea. Today I don't. I do have something I'm going to paint, which is these pansies, which is a favorite subject of mine, and I'm really, really glad that they're back in season again. So I've got loads of those to paint. And just lately, I've been doing a little bit more flower painting just for the sake of painting without actually trying to make anything specific and without really having a plan. So today I don't really have a plan. I've been pushing the texture a lot. I've been changing up the tools that I use to lay the paint down with quite a bit. Just kind of asking maybe a few questions about where the image might go rather than it being just as close as possible to the reference photo, while still having it anchored in reality, because at the end of the day, I want to paint these flowers because I think they're really beautiful, you know. The colors are really nice. It's quite a lightish, close to neutral setup, and even the purple and the yellow in the flowers are quite low chroma. They're not shouting, these flowers. They're talking quietly, and I kind of like that about them. And sometimes I think these kind of setups, I tend to gravitate towards them, quiet ones, and they feel like me, you know. And I think what you choose to set up, like how a painting comes out, starts with what you're choosing to paint. And increasingly, I think as you go through your kind of learning journey and you develop, you know, your work just happens by itself. You end up kind of choosing subjects which reflect a little bit, perhaps, who you are and what your concerns are. Hopefully the mic isn't going to die on me this week. I've charged it, and I've also figured out I've got a spare, which I didn't realize, so I can actually just change over if I need to. We've got the new easel. Panel is ready to go. 10 by 8 ampersand gesso board panel. Let me show you the palette, and I'll show you what I've got laid out on the palette. Nice new lens on this camera, so it's nice and sharp. Now, I've actually got 3 lumps of white here, but I've only got 2 different whites. Apologies for the materials list not being exact today, because I made a couple of decisions as I went along. These are both lead white from Rublev. This absolutely wonderful paint. Very expensive. I mean, this tube is about 50 quid, but it's gorgeous paint. The reason I've got 2 out is because one of them is going to get dirty really quick, so then I can change to the other one. And I've also got titanium white, because I might want to push something, you know, a little bit kind of cooler. And I also might want like the highest value I can possibly get in paint, which is titanium white. I've got 2 yellows. I've got cadmium yellow on the left, and I've got cadmium yellow lemon on the right. Now, I like to have quite often, especially if I don't know where a painting is going to go really, I like to have 2 different yellows on there, an orange one, you could say a warm yellow, and a more greenish one. Now, usually I would have an arrowline yellow, like Bright Yellow Lake there, which is like a Hansa yellow, because it's higher chroma, so it gives me more kind of headroom in the intensity of the yellows. But the yellows aren't, in this setup, they aren't particularly high chroma anyway, so I've chosen cad yellow, lemon, because it's more opaque, it's easier to paint with, and I don't need the high chroma. Quinacridone Rose is a total imposter. I put it out by mistake, so we can ignore that one. This is transparent red oxide and green gold as a pair. Allow me to add a little bit of chroma where I want, more towards a red orange or more towards a yellow green at the bottom end of the value range. Raw umber to drop the chroma. ivory black, this is ivory black also to drop the chroma, and dioxazine purple, which is just for those. The petals on that little purple flower. I have no idea how long I'm going to be painting today. As I was saying in the email that I sent out earlier on, I've been feeling really exhausted today. And you could say, well, maybe it would be a good idea to take a break. Michelle, my wife, is always telling me my problem is as soon as I have a free half hour, I fill it with something. I don't ever just sit down and not do anything. And it might seem like it's a good thing, but I don't think it is really. I think it's a form of mental illness, not being able to rest. I'm trying to learn from it and not get to the point where I get completely run down. But the thing is, like, you know, painting is good. I mean, any day when you manage to paint to me is a good day, right? For a long time, I had to work 9-to-5 jobs. Well, I didn't have to, but I chose to because I thought that's what I should do when we adopted the boys. And it was an absolute nightmare. But at least now that I get to paint, not as often as I want, but very often, it kind of puts me in a frame of mind where, you know, okay, I'm tired, and maybe this painting won't be the best. Maybe I won't be the most coherent today while I'm painting for you. And if you're painting along, let me apologize in advance because I'm not sure how well I'm going to describe what I'm doing today. I fully expect to zone out at some point. But hopefully it won't be too boring. Oh, Kathy says, a gorgeous fall day here in Vermont. The season of the sticks is coming. Do you actually call it the season of the sticks, or is it just that tune? I really like that song. Janice says, I love these pansies. Yeah, me too. Heather was disappointed that they don't have the little faces on them, but you know, I've got some with faces too, so we'll do those ones as well at some point, I think. I know, Roxanne, I know you like the pansies. Me too. I mean, they really are a favorite flower of mine. They're just so nice to paint. Hello, Marsha, good to see you. Hi, Zumi. Hello, Sally, not painting today? That's cool, just watch. You know, don't forget also that all of these streams are always recorded, so you can always get back to them later at any point. I'm going to just start. And I'm going to start pretty much without a drawing, I think, or without really much of a drawing. I'm thinking about, you know, just like where, maybe I'll rough out a few things, like where I think things are going to go, just try and get them in about the right place. I like the arrangement of the flowers. I was saying in the email that I sent out about this one earlier on, there's a little bit of distortion in the camera. I wasn't too careful. I wasn't careful enough with my reference photo, and I didn't really make sure that the camera was straight on. So there's a little bit of an angle to the back, which is unnecessary really for this subject. But I don't care because the flowers themselves ended up pretty much where I would want them to be. What I do when I'm cropping these photos, because obviously the original photo was much wider than this, when I'm cropping them, what I tend to do is I make the photograph really small on the screen. And I squint at it, and I balance the light and the shadow shapes. So I'm not actually looking at the details when I'm thinking about the composition. I'm thinking about the light and the shadow shapes. When I do this stuff, like mostly like lately, when I've been doing paintings like this, I've been doing them from life. And I haven't been drawing out at all, apart from getting like a rough idea of where I think I want everything, like the main part of the subject to go, and then I've just been going straight in and starting painting. And I really like working that way. It's very kind of freeing. Today, obviously, is going to be a little bit more, you know, it's just something different about having a reference photo there. It's not necessarily the case that, you know, you would always paint more carefully, but more close to the reference. But it's like you've already made a decision about how you're going to crop it, you know. I'm just going to get some values in around the background, really, to get things started off. And I think I'm going to go in like lighter than the values really are to begin with. I'm going to start with this area around here. Because I can always darken them later, and there's something I think I want about this painting. Like I took the photograph, as you probably know, like when you take a photograph, I've got a decent camera, it's a Lumix GH5. But as you probably know, when you take a photograph of something, it overemphasizes the values, that the darks are darker and the lights are lighter. As you will have noticed if you've ever taken a photo of one of your paintings, and transitions that you thought painted really smoothly actually turn out to be, on the photo, they turn out to look a little bit rough. Here come the spatula. So I'm interested in getting, let's work a little bit of purple and a little bit of green gold into that too. I'm interested in getting something interesting happening at the start. Oh, I forgot to oil it out. Suddenly hit the panel and it was like, oh my word, there's no oil on there. Really dry panel. Should I paint without oiling out today? No. Why would I do that? Always oil out. Something interesting is going to happen over here now, though. So immediately the unexpected has begun, and I've also destroyed my drawing pretty much. Mind? Roll with it. So I want a darkish value in there, but I don't. The actual value in there is really low, and I think I want this painting to feel lighter. I'm doing like a negative shape kind of drawing, really, I suppose. I know the left-hand side is going to be lighter, so and lower chroma, so I'm going to bring in some titanium and black. This is not how I teach, by the way. For anyone who's watching this and wondering what is going on, like today, like I'm painting. This is how I paint at the moment. Anyway, I'm going a lot more like this, like a lot freer at the start. I'm just trying to maybe trying to keep some possibilities open a little bit more at the beginning than I might have a while ago. I had a really nice email from someone today who emailed me and said, I used to watch you years ago, I used to follow you, like me, painting years ago. Try and get things in the right place, though. And he said, and then I stopped, and then I just came back the other day, like to like a few weeks ago or something. He said a few months ago or something. And he said he was gobsmacked by how much my painting had changed. And I thought, oh, well, I said, I guess you don't really notice when you're doing it yourself. I kind of think it hasn't changed that much, but maybe it really has, you know, and it's just that because it's been, you know, it's happened gradually over time for me. I haven't really thought about it too much. So I'm trying to get more light over here, like a little bit lighter, a little bit lower chroma. Cast shadow. I'm going to put that cast shadow in of the bowl. It's not even a bowl. It's a. Already, I'm losing my words. It's going to be disastrous today, isn't it? Really, it's going to be disastrous for anyone who's turned up to try and learn something. Bit of chroma. Lower value for the cast shadow. So the colours I've got in there are not raw umber and white, but I've also put in some dioxazine purple and green gold, which is a mix I've been falling in love with lately. It just has something interesting about it in to work. Kind of an amount of little bit of chroma into the shadows. Don't really know how far this painting is going to get today. Not really a demonstration as such as a. I suppose if it's useful in any way at all, it's only in as much as it's just. I guess it might be interesting to watch how I'm trying to in a way to break my habits and break my process and change things a little bit so that I kind of am beginning to find different ways of working. So the spatula I like because it makes really different marks. So I want to leave as much as those of those marks there as I can. The paint is incredibly thick in places and very thin in others. It's very uneven. It's not, you know, it's all over the place, really. I better take off some of the bigger lumps of what's happening here. That's not right, is it? It needs to go in. Yeah, not resting. I think there's something almost kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's certainly not entirely healthy, I don't think. But at the same time, I think it's quite common for people who are, you know, like artists and, you know, maybe some musicians as well, people who get obsessive about stuff, which, you know, let's face it, you've got to be a little bit obsessive to be a painter, haven't you, really? You're going to destroy that edge between the shadow and the shadow side of the pot and the cast shadow. Just trying to get the feeling of the space and the light. And I like to cover a lot of ground quickly at the start because then when some colours start to go on, I'll be able to see much more clearly how they're working. So as I'm going into the light, I'm going more, just a little bit lighter half-tone area will be like here. Just doing these values by eye at the moment because I want the values to be movable. So when I say movable, I don't necessarily want to have exactly the values that are in the photo, although I probably will end up quite close to them. I want the painting to have like a light feeling. So at the moment, my values overall are a little bit lighter. Which I think is going to be something I want. So although it looks like a complete mess at the moment, I am thinking carefully about the value blocks. You know, where the lights go and where the shadows go. And I'm building in higher chroma in the shadows and lower lower chroma in the lights as I'm going. So I'm already starting to get a feeling of some light back here. And there'd be like a couple of places, like I might, you know, to put in a really, really dark value just to be able to see how those values relate. Like there's just you can see just a little bit of the inside of the pot there. You know, so if I put a very dark value on there, then I can see it, how the other ones relate more. Thank you, Fanchon33. Linda says, I don't have the not resting problem. Yeah, I wish I didn't sometimes. I tend to get to a point, I always end up getting to a point where my body tells me it's time to rest by making me ill and sending me to bed, and I'm trying to learn not to do that. You would think I would have figured it out by now. I mean, I'm 60 this year. But no, still pushing myself to exhaustion all the time. Diane says, take the dogs for a walk. Always a good thing. Always a good thing to do. They had a really long walk this morning, actually. This morning was just amazing. We were out, you know, we're in a farmhouse here, so we're just surrounded by fields. So we literally go out the driveway, across the road, and we're in the middle of fields. And this morning was so gorgeous. The sun was up and it had rained overnight and there was heavy dew, cobwebs all over the fields and the grass. You know, you look into the light, if you're looking at the sun, the grass turned silver. This golden light coming from the sun. It was just so gorgeous. So some of this I want to keep, you know, I'm taking out the really thick lumps of paint. One of the nice things, you know, about a spatula, painting with a spatula, is that, you know, I kind of feel like it would be a good thing for everybody to try, especially if you tend not to use enough paint. I'm thinking about you here, Sally. I'm not. I hope you don't mind me saying that, but I've been giving a lot of thought to the discussion that we had about the problems you were having with getting the paint to adhere to the panel, you know. And actually, you know, try painting with a spatula, because you put it on in a very different way. It's like you, in order for the paint to be opaque, you have to have a layer of paint between the spatula and the panel. Because if I dig into it, then the paint disappears, right? I push the paint off, so I have to have a layer of paint. It's more like plastering a wall or something like that, you know. And that is actually, I've got to be careful how I phrase this, because obviously there are different ways of painting, there are different approaches to paint. But, you know, to be able to get these kind of effects, most of the time, that's actually what you want. You want a layer of paint. You don't want a colored drawing. Colored drawings can be very, very beautiful. That's what I mean. It's just a very different aesthetic approach. But if you want this kind of thing, a painter's painting, painterly, then thin paint is not going to get you there, not really. I'm working slowly, and I'm hopefully giving myself enough time to see shape errors at this point, because you know, there's a lot on there now. There's enough to see. There's light. All of this is light. So I'm thinking about the balance of the light and the shadow value. So this is like my big shadow and up to half-tone block, and then there's the light block. Cato, absolutely right. A painting day is a good day no matter how it turns out. Always, you know. At this point, not so many years ago, I would have been still at work in London, looking forward to a 2-hour journey home on the train, knowing that my kids would already be in bed by the time I got home. And look now, not only am I here painting, but I'm getting to share it with a whole bunch of wonderful people. How cool is that? Hello, Laura May, West Sussex. Oh, cool. Timmy, good to see you. You've been doing some really good stuff on the community lately. Can I just say, I know you said you were struggling with your high chromosphere, but it came out really well, let me tell you. Really, really well. I thought you could have pushed the values a little bit further in the darks, but it was great. Erti, what you're seeing is not the focus of the cameras. What you're seeing is YouTube is changing your stream. YouTube is changing the quality of your video depending on your internet connection. Trust me, I'm not losing focus. It's not zooming in and out. That's YouTube is doing that to you. You can go into the little gear thing at the bottom and you can set it so that it put it on 1080p. Hello, Liliana. She says, what a low chroma challenge. Indeed, but kind of beautiful, I think, as well. Subtle color is... It can be more difficult to handle. I mean, you know, very high chroma color can be difficult too in its own way. It's a different challenge, I suppose it's fair to say, like low chroma color like this. It's a different kind of challenge. I'm imagining these flowers, although I'm not painting them yet. I'm thinking about what they're going to look like. How they're going to sit in that space. Maria says, is the spatula easier for you than a palette knife? I think it is, because the thing about a spatula, like with a palette knife, when you put it down, it's bent. You know, or I guess you could do it like that, and then you would have the whole flat edge. But these are nice because you can kind of, it's the shape of them I like. You can put it down and you get just a really nice width of a mark. And I don't know, there's something about the silicone that makes it like, there's a couple that I really like this one as well, which has got two different edges, so I can use the fat edge or the thin edge, you know. They make very different marks than palette knives do. B Fury says, I admire how freely you lay down the background. It's taken me years to get to the point where I can just throw it down like that, though. You've got to be fairly confident of your drawing and fairly confident of your command of values, you know. Sandra says, when I rest from painting, it feels I have to relearn again. Kind of like everything, isn't it, really? Yeah. Hello, Michelle. Good to see you. A beautiful mess. That's kind of what I'm going for. Yeah, beautiful mess, right? Dan says, where'd you get the spatulas from? Well, I got these are a Catalyst by Princeton. This is an 01. And my next favorite is an 02. You know, I think Blick's. I think you can get them from Blick. I get them from Jackson's. Dennis says, didn't Dennis Perrin say only the paint should touch the canvas, not the brush? Yeah, I mean, it sounds like something he would definitely say. Because I linked that video of his, didn't I, in an email the other day I sent out. Yeah. Yeah, most probably. Thank you, Stephanie. That's a very nice thing to say. Hello, Mel. Laura says your blood pressure is probably lower now. I hope so, because I still have hypertension from when I had my illness, and I keep forgetting to sort out my meds. I've run out. I'm definitely feeling a bit more relaxed now, and I actually have woken up. I'm going to paint some more in a little bit. Thank you, Roxanne. That's a nice thing to say. I'm not teaching. I suppose I'm talking about what I'm doing, but I'm not really teaching. Yeah. I think you can get a softer edge with a spatula versus a knife, JK. JK, remind me what your name. I keep forgetting. You can get a softer edge with a spatula versus a knife. I think, yeah, possibly, yeah. I think you can get it more easily. Mel says, would you advise the wipeout technique for an artist working on light paintings or something else to show bright lights through darkness? Wipeout is wonderful if you're looking for light overall painting. So just cover the whole thing with, like, if you're with the value scale, like a value 6-ish, just higher than the middle value, and then just wipe out your lights, and it looks absolutely beautiful. Wipeout is a wonderful technique. M says, I use silicone baking spatulas. You know, they're probably the same thing. Probably exactly the same construction. Might even be better. Look at this. Oh, it's not that one. Which is the one that was... Can't remember which one it is now. One of them, I got it home. Oh, it's this one. Bit of glue will sort that out though. Neat Science says, have you found the extra painting holders? Oh, Dan. Oh, Dan, is that Dan? Yes, absolutely. I have found them really handy. Can you see? I don't think it's actually on the camera. I've got one over this side. Yeah. One of them, the little screw that goes through it is threaded. So once you put it in, you can't get it off again. So that one needs a bit of attention, but the other one works really well. Yeah. Yeah, they're great. I've got a painting for you as well. Let me show you the painting I'm going to send you, Dan. Since you're here, I've just varnished it. It's a little apple painting that I did on a Friday live, actually, some time ago. So you may be able to see the Friday live. This is your painting, Dan, and I'm going to send it to you. I've got a few to send out because I just sold a couple. So it'll be going in the post next week. Might just leave this here, you know, like it how it is. What I'm trying to decide is, I'm vacillating. I'm trying to decide whether I put this value in now or whether I start putting in the flowers. I think, you know, I'm going to do the bit that's interesting me most at the moment. I'm going to look for some flower colors. That's a good question. Billy says, is the struggle with glare in your studio inevitable, or is there a lighting setup you recommend to minimize it on your panel and on your palette? Absolutely. I mean, obviously the gold standard is natural light coming from a window through which you don't get direct sun. This one first. But if you can't get that, you just reminded me, actually, I need to move one of my lights. I forgot. Palette's a little bit, palette and painting will be a little bit dark at the moment. That should be better. Yeah, it's better. Oh, palette's too much light maybe now. What were we talking about? Oh, so I recommend these Neewer 660s LEDs. I mean, you can get other kinds of LEDs, just the Neewer ones are a good price. Oh yeah, my palette is well blown out. Let me bring down the gain on that. Oh, it won't come down. It's been playing a bit funny lately, the palette camera, since I put the new lens on. I don't think it's the new lens though. Is that a bit blown out? Just going to have to live with it. I have a software app that controls the cameras, which is really, really handy. But it's not always doing what it's supposed to at the moment. Sometimes it just stops working. I think it's the control cable. That made no difference at all. Just going to have to live with it. Yeah, so I have one either side of my painting. So if you can imagine, I've got one on the left and one on the right. The angle at which they point to the painting is very, very shallow. So they're almost pointing like right across the painting, but it means having one on both sides. Because the angle is shallow, like they're almost horizontal with the painting if you looked at it from above. It means I don't get any of it, get very little glare. I mean, I have this set up for the cameras mostly, but it's also very good for the studio, and you get no light drop off across the surface, and it also means I don't really get any strong shadow, you know, depending on where I put my hand. But as I say, that's mostly for, I'm just trying to play with that. Yeah, it's gone a bit funny, that. Might have to change the camera. Yeah, Neewer 660 LEDs, really good. Hello, David. Good to see you. And good luck with your new venture, by the way. If there's any way that I can help you, give me a shout. I'm going to mix a color for that. Yeah, I know what you mean. Michelle says I always like to leave the best till last. I know what you mean, but I'm kind of feel like, because I want to sort of figure out the values, and because my values are going to be rather different, or maybe, I'm not sure, they're probably going to be a little bit different than the actual values. God, I've taken up so much space on my palette already. I'm running out of room to mix flower colours. I'm going to be a bit careful about these mixes, because I want these flowers to be, you know, I want the painting overall to have a life and a texture to it, but I want these flowers to feel like they're there. I'm going to mix an overall light and an overall shadow colour. I'm going to go, so I've got dioxazine purple and white. I'm going to go to about a value 7, even though I know they're a little bit darker than that, because I want to keep the values a little bit light to start with. I can always do a second session on the painting. So this is just dioxazine purple and white. Sorry, I'm messing with my my palette camera. For some reason, the software is not. It's not doing its job. I want to reduce the exposure of it, and it won't let me do it for some reason. Technical hitch is so frustrating. I'll have to deal with it later. It just means all the colours that you can see on the palette are a little bit lighter than they really are. I'm going to check that value. It's way too dark. Seven. I'm going to put some titanium in it to bring it up more quickly. I'm impatient. Chroma-wise, a bit too high. Oh, actually, now I brought the value right up, maybe not so bad. I'm going to try painting a little bit of that in. Think about brush choice. Rosemary's Ivory. I like these because they're quite springy. They're like a brush version of a spatula almost. So this would be like a light. light colour. So for anyone here who is on the current flower workshop, we've got some pansies for Monday as well. I don't know if you've seen the email. I just got it out today with the drawing out video. Rather different than these. And we'll be going for, like, you know, value accuracy rather than what I'm doing here, which is playing a little bit with the values. I'm liking this, just the color relationship of that purple against the background is looking nice. Shadow color, diopsazine. I'm going to warm it up with a little bit of raw umber. Bring it up a little bit with white. Too much chroma, so it's going to need some black in it. Black is, I was saying at the beginning, black is good for dropping chroma. Anything on the blue end of the hue wheel, so like blues, blue greens, purples, and get the balance of the chroma about right. Without going too dark. So these might not be the values that I end up with, but I want some starter values down there to give me an idea of where I might go. I'm going to keep that brush for the lights. I'm going to get another one for the shadows. Let's try this one. Silver brush. No, I tell a lie. This is the Akoya Jackson's. Kind of similar to the Rosemary's, a bit cheaper. Doesn't feel as nice on the panel, not quite as, it's very similar, but shadow. Not enough chroma. Also, I'm actually gonna bring some TRO in that. Not TRO. Quinacridone rose, because I just feel like a bit more red would help it to sing out a little bit more. So I've got two brushes to play with now, a light and a shadow. Then I can go between them. Let's see if I can sculpt some petal shape like thick paint. And then, so I've got a soft shadow there, and over that would go a light. Let's see how far up the value range we can go and still keep some chroma, because this petal here is facing right towards the light. Ah, not enough paint, Paul. Come on. I want it to overlay the shadow, like physically, as well as visually. You know, I want it to be down. That's in the wrong place. Is it? No, it's about right. This is in the wrong place. Something's wrong here. I threw it together so quickly, I didn't really do much of a careful drawing, so. That's a lot lighter than the actual pansy. Maybe it's too light. It's hard to say. Can't really say until all the values have gone in, whether it's going to work or not. Made that pansy so light, even the yellow isn't really showing. Get some yellow in now. And the other pansy. Trying to see the relationships. I'm trying to find the relationships of the light now. I'm not not necessarily looking for an accurate representation of the photo. Because the feeling of this photo to me, the feeling of this, that's too dark. The feeling of the subject is light, you know, like higher value. So I'm thinking about painting the whole thing in a slightly higher key than it really is. And not allowing the values to come down too far. What I like about this yellow flower is the chroma is actually pretty low. So I want to be careful not to push the chroma too much in the yellow. So I'm bringing it down with raw umber, which is turning it slightly greener than I want. Putting a tiny touch of transparent red oxide, send it back a little bit more orange again. So what I'm trying to do is to look at the values that I've got in the painting at the moment and make this is the light color for the yellow pansy, and make it work on the palette against what I've got. So it needs to stand out as being lighter than the lighter value that I've got for the purple. Hopefully without giving it too much chroma, but I need a little bit in there. Gradually going up and up and up the value range. Out white again already. So I'm thinking about the color more in terms of the relationships that are there on the panel at the moment, rather than, you know, against what I can see in the reference, rather than, you know, the kind of, like when I'm teaching, the chroma magic way of learning by checking the colors that we can see, which is a great way of calibrating your visual system to better recognize color, to be able to better judge colors. But once you're past that stage, you know, it's not always what you want to do. So these colors need to be nailed. I just feel that they need to be really close to, in terms of the relationships of the values and the chromas from the light to the shadow. So I'm just looking for anywhere else I've got this light. Always looking for hard edges where there's a form against the light. Sorry, a form against the shadow. I've got to be honest, I'm not thinking very clearly as I'm not, no, what am I trying to say? I'm not describing what I'm doing as clearly as I normally do. Mostly because, you know, this is unrehearsed and I'm figuring it out as I go. So I'm actually having to think about it more like as I would when I'm just doing the painting. So inevitably I'm more than usual, like I'm trying to do two things at once. Think and make decisions about the painting and talk. Shadow. I wouldn't just want it if there's one shadow color I want to nail. So yellows in the shadow, I start with green gold. I bring in a small amount of TRO. It's going to be too much chroma. I'm going to bring in a little bit of raw umber. And then with white, I'm going to bring it up to about the value that I want. So I've also got a light and a shadow brush for the white pansy. That's the yellow pansy. This is like slower normally. That this is slower. I'm figuring out relationships, so I can't be rushing it. Trying to make sure I put things in the right place as well. This is the shadow color I want to get. I feel like this is kind of the rubric of this. Pansy here. It's the key. Too dark. My soundtrack, although it probably isn't coming out on the mic, is Teddy. Big Ted, our rescue dog, snoring. He likes to hang around with me in the studio. And it's so nice because I don't have banjo anymore. And he's kind of moved in. Just thinking about colors and shapes at the moment. Values, relative values, and chromas and relationships. Like this petal here, it goes into shadow, but I want it still to be lighter than the shadow side of the pot behind. So I'm thinking about this relationship here. It's like at this stage, like if I'm painting like this, it's more like a collection of relationships that I'm trying to figure out. If I had tried to paint like this, well, I mean, I did try and paint like this, like much earlier on in my kind of learning journey, before I'd kind of keyed my my visual system to see value relationships better. A lot of the time I would have fallen on my face, and did actually fall on my face a lot. So now I'm looking for this relationship between the shadow of the yellow pansy against the light of this one. I'm trying to make sure that I can always feel light in there. That every time I do something, it's for the light. To get more light in it. I'm aware that I haven't looked at the comments for a while. Sorry about that. But we'll catch up in a moment. Figuring some stuff out. Oh. It's really fascinating is even on these light parts of the flower. Let's get that. That kind of seems to bring out, there's these little patches of chroma that like slightly higher chroma yellows that aren't really a big part of the color, but they affect how you perceive it, like just here. Into the painting now. I'm going to what's happening there? Like a purple. Some light coming through this flower into this flower, I think. Really subtle though. So this is a paint shaper as well. I use this a lot for removing paint. You know, if I feel I need to take this paint out of here. It doesn't work nearly so well if you haven't oiled out the panel first. Because these yellows, you know, if I get that background color mixed in with it, the value is going to drop and the chroma is going to go off a cliff. So I've got to clean this part of the panel before I can paint on it. And I'm using the paint shaper now because it gives me a hard edge. It gets all of the paint off pretty much, and it gives me a hard edge against the shadow, which is what I want there. I've left too much oil on the panel here, so it's a bit too slick. Bit more chroma down here, I think. There, yeah. There. Still shadow on the pot there. It shows, so that needs to be darker there, but I need to be getting lighter for the pot. So this is kind of like a decision time here. Like I want this value to be significantly darker than the flower there, but I'm supposed to be getting lighter on the pot here. So, you know, I'm running into problems because I haven't gone right down to my lowest values in the shadow. Whoa, sorry, let me catch up. Oh, I'm so behind. On the comments, sorry. Walking through nature, thank you, that's a lovely thing to say. Yeah, Michelle says, I was just going to say that pansy is a lot lower value in the reference. I think you're right to lighten it. I don't know if I'm right or not, because, you know, it means that let me try and explain what I'm doing. That little frustrated gasp was because I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a good job of explaining this, but I will try. I've pushed the values up because I want this. I'm deliberately keeping the values closer and I'm painting it in a slightly higher key. So in the original reference photo, these shadows were much darker, and I affected it a little bit in Lightroom. It has these sliders and you can bring up the value of just the darks, just the shadows. So I did that. But here I'm actually painting it even a little bit lighter than that. So for this flower to stand out against that, I need to push up the value of that. I'm looking for something which overall is a bit lighter than the reference photo, probably. Although I'm not 100% sure. But what that means is if I push up the value of this flower here, there's more white in it and less dioxazine purple, which means the chroma drops as well. And what really attracted me to this setup, because I took, God knows, the last 2 days, maybe 100 photos of different pansies in different pots and vases and stuff. The reason I really wanted to paint this one is because of the low chroma and the lightness of it. It's subtle. So I'm accentuating it by bringing that value up. Means I can't get any more chroma in it than that. You know, if I want more chroma, if I want the color to be more intense in that pansy, I have to drop the value. So painting it in a higher key means that I actually drop the chroma further than it is in the painting itself, in the reference anyway. So I'm accentuating hopefully the lightness of the values, and also at the same time, I'm dropping the chroma because I don't have an option because I've made the values lighter. Let me show you. I think I might be able to show you. Where's my Munsell book? It's much easier to see things like that than it is for me to explain them. See, but I would say I wasn't really, that's something that happened because I made it lighter, and now that it has happened, I want to keep it. I'm trying to find a page from the Munsell book of About the Right Hue. So look at this. This is About the Right Hue. So the pansy is actually probably about this value round here. And, you know, this is the range that you can get in paint at different values in this purple. So if I paint it that value, I can get more chroma, but I've pushed it up around here. Here. Maybe I could get more chroma into it. Maybe the actual pansy is more like here. But you can hopefully see anyway, as you go up the value range, the amount of chroma available to you in paint drops because there's more white in the mix. Because dioxazine purple reaches its highest chroma at a really, really low value because it's a low value pigment, right? So the more white you mix with it, the more chroma you lose. The lighter it gets, the more chroma you lose. But it wasn't so much a conscious decision that I was going to drop the chroma, but now it's happening as a result of me raising the value. I think I like it. Did that make any sense at all, or was it just utter gibberish? It made sense in my mind. Robin says, would you recommend using a rosemary coma for some petal work? Actually, that would be a good choice because you could use the brush strokes to kind of create the streaks. You know, the streaks that you get from the brush would naturally lend themselves to creating the feeling of the that kind of papery. It's that kind of paper. We used to have this kind of paper when I was a kid. We used to do collages with. Can't remember what it's called now. It's very crinkly. Crinkles. I'm just going to go with crinkles. Crinkly. Pansies are crinkly. So yeah, it would be good. I don't want to do it yet though, because I've got one eye on the texture, but at the moment I'm mostly thinking about value relationships. I think I've probably got enough in to start thinking about putting in something here so that I can see more what's going to happen there. Thank you, Catherine. That's a nice thing to say. Brush handling is just, yeah. It's one of those things that I realized earlier on it was I wanted to get good at, and so I did a lot of practice to try and develop my facility with it, let's say. I feel like there's light here. I like the feeling that there's light there. It's a balance. Diane says, would it be possible for you to post a picture of the finished painting for comparison? Oh yeah, sure, I'll stick it. Yeah, I'll stick it in the community, yeah. In the Friday Lives space. This is so true. Michelle says, I think it's good to see people paint in real time. Even an edited video gives a false impression of how long things take. That is so true, especially thinking time. So true. I mean, that's what I'm doing at the moment. It's different when I'm teaching because half the time I've already painted it at least once, sometimes more than once. So I can think through what I'm going to, the points I want to make, you know, that I think are going to be the most useful to people. That's slightly different, but this is something else. You know, I'm figuring it out as I go. There's something wrong here. Oh, sorry. While I'm talking, I'm looking at the painting and I can see I've got something wrong there in the shape. Stuff that I normally wouldn't bother fixing if it was like a live session and I was teaching. Part of the reason that demo paintings never come out quite as good as paintings that I do when I don't have the cameras on. Can I do this? Paint might be too thick. Oh no, we got it. Yeah, I think this is all right. Close up, it doesn't look that great, but if I stand right back, it's looking okay. It's feeling like shadow. So I'm trying to think about these light and shadow areas in terms of like what's their orientation to the light. So we're going to be doing some of this. This is coming up in the workshop. I'm going to show you a little bit of it now. Where this petal comes around here and overlays this one, there's a shadow behind it. So the way I would do something like that is I want to put in the value, but while I'm here, I may as well try and get the painting like reasonably accurate. So the shadow is going to be soft. So I'll get the value of the shadow in. Just try and make sure I get the value first of this shadow here. And then I'll handle the left-hand edge. I'll sort out the left-hand edge as it comes out and goes into the light. So it's kind of soft, you know, as it comes out into the light here. Slightly lighter down the bottom, and then it drops off a little bit. So I want to sort out, I want to soften the left-hand edge. I'm not worried about the right-hand bit. I'm going to deal with that in a minute. But the left-hand edge, I want to soften this because that's a cast shadow. I would even overdo it. And I'm using vertical strokes, even though they're not good from the camera, because it kind of helps with those, like I was saying to Robin earlier on, it helps with getting the feeling of that slightly crinkly nature. And try and make the shadow the right shape, though, which isn't at the moment. Because the shape of a cast shadow is important because it needs to reflect the shape of the object that casts it. So I've made that shadow, right? There's another color in there. I think it's just low chroma, but it feels like purple. Where's my shadow? Is this my shadow brush? No, I just used my lights brush to paint a shadow. Foolish man. Only a little bit with the purple in, just at the top of that shadow here. No. So I'll paint, the point I'm trying to make anyway is that I'll paint the shadow before I paint the thing that's casting it. Let's get this right. Very light here. And then load up the brush. Now I'm going to paint the light petal, this side of this petal. So I want a hard edge. And I've loaded up the brush so the brush is way thicker. And I'm going to ignore all those little kind of details in there because I just want the feeling of this like overlaying that shadow. So I want a hard edge, thick paint. And it feels like it's actually, well, probably doesn't come out so well on the camera, but there's actually, I'm making a ridge. It is actually physically in front of the shadow behind it because the paint is so much thicker there. There's some confusing stuff happening here, which in the reference photo, which I'm just going to totally ignore because it's going to be difficult to make it read right in the paint. So I'm just going to pretend that this is all shadow here. Because that's going to make more visual sense. And give like a hard edge here over the shadow. It's just trying to get those relationships. I want a little bit more chroma, a little bit lower value here than here. Just a tiny bit. And then it comes out into the light. there. And behind it, here's a good opportunity, because behind that is the pot in the light. So I've got an opportunity to work out a value there. See what we can get. Need a clean white. Teddy understands the art of doing nothing. I'll tell you what he really does. You know, we got Tansy, who is a half border collie, half poodle. We got her from a breeder first, and she is an intense little dog. Very, very bright. I mean, Teddy's is no slouch, but not compared to Tansy. Just, you know, she's so bright. She's training him to play her favorite games. And she's trained him to play tug of war and chase me around the table with this small piece of bark that I brought in from outside. She's actually trained him to do it. She's so sharp. And he does it like, yeah, okay, I'll chase you around the table for an hour. And she stays just ahead of him. But he is very chill, you know, and lovely. B. Fury says, observing that your brush placement is directional rather than filling an outline. Yeah, totally. Totally is. Especially with flowers, you know, I'm trying to help the brush strokes make the form. I'm trying to, you know, I'm gradually starting to hone in on inconsistencies here and there and sort them out. Gradually, slowly building the forms and the light. I think it's coming. I think it's coming. Erica says, what is the brand and size of the paint shaper? Is it a chisel end? Where is it? It's called a color shaper. It says size 6. I don't know what that means really. Cup chisel, Royal Sovereign, made in the UK. So I don't know if you can get them, but it's just a stiff silicone paint shaper. Color shaper. You can get them pretty much anywhere. Heather says, maybe you could make the chroma look higher by lowering it in the background. Yeah, totally, but that's not how I'm thinking about the painting at the moment. That would be like, I mean, you know, as you were painting, you would think that. And that's what you would do, you know, and it would take your painting in a different direction. Not saying any particular way is right or wrong. We're dealing with the same things. Do you know what I mean? I'm dealing with chroma and value, and so are you. You know, thinking about it differently though. But yeah, that would totally work. If I wanted this flower to appear more chromatic, then I could drop the chroma in the background. But you know how obsessive I am about having a little bit more chroma in the shadow. You know that. I think this value has got a bit too dark in relation to the light. It's not really reading as shadow at the moment. And that's usually because it's just the wrong value. Well, or the wrong chroma, or both. See, I'm quite happy for this painting to end up more gentle even than the reference. More subtle. See, this shadow shape is wrong. I've done that without thinking about it. Fix it in a bit. I'm coming back. I'm still thinking about this. All right, Big Ted, he's up. Do you want out, big fella? Go on then, big man. Excuse me a second while I let him out. Good boy. Oh, he heard the car, that's why. Everybody's home. God, how long have I been painting for? An hour and a half. Listen, I'm sorry if this is a long one. I'm just going to keep going because this painting is becoming really interesting to me. The relationship, how do I make that work? How do I... Needs to be significantly closer, lighter, because that's the half-tone value almost. So I know it's got to be lighter. You know, I guess what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use what I know and what I hopefully can achieve with the paint, with the values and the chromas, in order to create a feeling that I have about it, about the subject. Does that make sense? See, that's too light. Is it? It's not chromatic enough. A little bit more chroma. Like it's almost the same value, but too dark. This is a tough bit, this, because I'm trying to get the relationship between the pot and the lights of the yellow flower. But if I get that relationship so that it's about right, then it's too dark against the halftone because I've made this shadow lighter than it should be. What? So that should probably be like about a value 1 or a 2, and I've made it about a 3.5 to a 4. I think about a 3, somewhere between a 3 and a 4. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. If I can just get the value relationship there, then I can think about the chroma. And then maybe we can cheese it a bit and just go a bit lighter as we go around. Because here it's got to be really, really light. Edge. Something's off. I'm looking at how far this flower goes out against the side of the pot, and that's not looking right at all. I just stuck a grid on the photo in Chroma Magic so I can check that position of that side of the pot. So that would be about halfway. That would be about half. So it should be ending about there. Take that off. So I was having an email discussion with Zumi the other day. Are you still here, Zumi? About speed at which the live sessions in the workshops go. Because especially when you're painting flowers, if I'm trying to teach a particular approach, and it's to do with the brush marks, but it's a lot to do with the values and the edges, which, to be fair, you do with the brush. So I'm trying to find a balance between getting as much information I can across as possible in a live session without it being so quick, too quick, that people can't follow on and they lose some bits. I don't want people to lose anything. Obviously, it's recorded, so you can always go back. But this is pretty much how fast I paint, and this probably, it probably seems achingly slow. But I'd spend a lot more time trying to make sure that things are in the right place. And that the values are going to work. Feel the need of something in here, that a value. I'm going to go titanium for that bit. No, I won't actually. I'll stay with lead. The cloth, I'm starting to figure out the value relationships here, so I'm thinking about the cloth now. It's dull, huh? Watching someone paint in real time. That's the best, one of the best comments ever on a live stream, Michelle. If only there was some software to make this easier. Crepe paper, Heather, that's it. Crepe paper. Yes. Ooh, lovely. Thank you, Kate. Kate says the painting looks like a source of light. So yeah, I want a feeling of light, but I also want it to feel that it's there. I want it to feel like it's drenched in light, which is why I'm making everything a little bit lighter than it really is, Greta says it's only okay. The sense of light. Ooh, it's harsh. I'm kidding. Laura May, yeah, crepe paper, thank you. Oh, you make me you make me laugh. I mean, I could be doing it now, but I'm watching porn instead. Yeah, everybody's waiting for the Chroma Magic release. What are you doing here watching someone paint? Marcia says, Border Collies and Standard Poodles are classed as the two smartest dogs. It also makes them among the most impish. Oh, yeah, and stubborn. So stubborn. They really know their own minds. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Jeannie says, the flower petals look almost like watercolour. Being as watercolour is so fiendishly difficult, I'll take that as a compliment. Walk through nature, you are gone. You don't go onto other people's channels and try and get people onto your own, right? Deborah says, Paul, I noticed you didn't use Chroma Magic and I see you're brilliant at what you do. Oh, thank you. I took a seascape last night and it showed colours I did not see. I love Chroma Magic. Yeah. No, I don't use, I don't use it. I use Chroma Magic mostly as a teaching tool. I have popped into it a couple of times while I'm doing this just to check, what the values actually are, because I want to make sure that I go lighter. But yeah. Yeah, so I think Yeah, so I had a really good chat with Zumi about that, a couple of emails back and forth about speed. And Zumi, thank you again for the ideas that you gave me. Really, really useful. I'm probably not following any of them today, but today is a little bit different. I think, I'm probably going to send an email out to everybody about that. There's something I like. I'm thinking about what value to put here, but there's something I like about the fact that it's too light at the moment. It's so harsh that, but in a good way, that feeling of light. So I think I'm going to paint that lighter than it really is. But I'm worried when I put the value in there, it's not going to work. So I'm just going to scribble some value in there and see how that would look. It's interesting thinking about color. For this area, very, very low chroma blue red. W.H. Dempsey says, it's blazingly fast compared to the way I paint. Yeah. Yeah, so this is a really good point. Where's it gone? Yeah, Michelle, I use Chroma Magic on Windows sometimes and it looks fine. Erica said that it works fine, sorry. The palette looks like a mirror image of the painting. Yeah, and it should. I really believe you should be able to see, like I'm working out value relationships on the palette before they go into the painting. Some of it I'm working out here, but I'm working them out down here, like it's here, my lord. I'm working them out on the palette. Do you know what I mean? As I'm going along. Black, white, lead white, small amount of black. I want to make sure I don't bring this value down too far, like I just did then, like way too far. Because I like this feeling of it being kind of almost a harsh light. Should I use titanium here? No, I'm going to go with lead. Little bit of quinacridone rose. Make a blue red that we don't have anywhere else. Very, very low chroma. What am I going to put it on with? Like this or not? What's wrong with this thing? Probably just needs a clean. Oh yeah, it's got some built up paint on the end. Well, that's junk for now then. That's more like it. I'm thinking about this being like very slightly abstract, but with good values, which, and then I can work into it later. I'm thinking very, very likely with this painting we'll be doing another stage on it, and I'm going to paint it like as carefully as I can right now, and then I'm going to semi-destroy it with sandpaper. And then paint over it again. Because I love the effect of it, and also it opens up a lot of possibilities for what can come next. But I think with this one, I want those flowers to be like really, really carefully painted. They're not at the moment, you know, I'm just kind of trying to get a feeling of the texture of them, and you know, just trying to get the values where I want them to be, really. Did I lose something or gain something there? No. Verdict is out on this colour for me at the moment. I feel like I lost something. Or did I? I'm not sure. Lots of messy stuff going on at the moment. Hoping I'll be able to pull it in stage 2. I mean, you never know. Sometimes, like, I start with painting like this, and then fully intending to go back to it and do another stage, and I'm kind of fired up about what's going to happen next, and then I just get wrapped up with other things and forget to do it. I've got a few hanging around like that at the moment. But I feel this one has potential to go somewhere. Ow. Oh, sorry. Zoned out there for a minute. Am I still? Yeah, I'm still on. Sorry, I lost it for a minute. I'm trying to just find the bits that I haven't done yet, and I just want to get. So I'm coming to the end of this session now. I can feel my focus going, and I'm feeling more doubtful about what I put down. So I am gonna. I don't want any white space. I've got some white space still. Thank you, Judy. That's a very nice comment. We can and should all paint individually. Creative, what speaks to us. Yeah, totally. I mean, there's a basic kind of vocabulary that we all need to learn. Well, if you want to paint realistically anyway, there's like a basic vocabulary that we all need to learn, I think. But then beyond that, you know, what you choose to paint, how you choose to paint it. Otherwise, I mean, to me anyway, I mean, this is the way I look at it personally. There are many, many different ways of approaching painting, but for me personally, I couldn't really see the point, you know. When obviously, but at the same time, I think like originality can be almost overemphasized sometimes. Like, you know, you can try and force you can't force it. Like it comes when it's ready. And I also think it's fine to be, you know, influenced by the work that you see and to experiment with that and try and figure out what people are doing, and then, you know, you can kind of build that back into what you do. I mean, your voice, if you like. I mean, oh, totally used the wrong brush there. It's gonna come out anyway. But I don't really understand the need that people have to say that their style is the style, is their approach is the approach, the way that painting should be done. You know, I'm always deeply suspicious when people start saying what art is. To me, painting is, art should be. Do you know what I mean? It's like, honestly, I think it's a sign of just a level of insecurity, which is kind of understandable, because it's not a very easy life being a painter, really, to be fair. For most of us, I'm extremely lucky and very aware of how lucky I am to be doing what I do. I'm reaching like, I don't know if you ever find that like this happens in your paintings, but I'm reaching like a crisis point where I'm suddenly doubting everything that I've done up to this point. You know, it's been going really nicely and I've been really enjoying it, and then suddenly it's like, yeah, but you know, now I'm at this point, I'm like, is it any good really? Is it worth going on with? You know, I'm not asking for hints on what I should do next, by the way. But it's kind of like, you know, when it gets to this point and I'm trying to infer what this value should be here without painting all those little creases. You know, this is like, it's become It's become a painting now. A lot of decisions have gone into it at this point that would be kind of tricky to change. And I've suddenly, it's probably just tiredness, because I was tired when I started, and I've been focusing for a little while. I've suddenly caught myself wondering if it's really rubbish, actually. And it hasn't got any of what I was hoping for. And if it hasn't, can I put it in? Can I bring it in? Or is it just not going to happen? And it's probably just that I'm tired. And it's getting difficult to see it objectively now. Not objectively, but it's not the right word, I don't think. Clearly, it's probably a better way to put it. And I'm also aware suddenly that I'm extremely tired. just hit me like, oh, I zoned out for a minute, came back because I stepped on my Munsell book and hurt my foot. And, and it brought me back to reality. Maybe I should have stayed there longer. So at the moment, all I have really is a bunch of relationships. Some kind of inkling coming of the shape of the flowers, but mostly, the form of the flowers, but mostly at this point, it's just kind of a series of relationships that hopefully are at least in the right place. But this painting isn't going to give itself up very easily, I don't think. It's not going to. I'm at that abandon it or keep going stage. Is there enough in it that's good? Have I with the value decisions that I made, right? Like this is it's not a lot lighter, but it's a bit lighter than the background actually is. Have I taken too much chroma out? They're rhetorical questions, that I'm asking myself, that I don't think at the moment I'm really kind of equipped to answer, because I'm probably just too tired to think very clearly about these things. And I'm also think that I'm probably at the point where I'm going to start making some bad decisions pretty soon. So I think I need to let this one rest a little while. And think about it, or just look at it a little bit and maybe have some ideas for what it could go. I'm trying to put in a few kind of, just to wrap up the stage that it's at now without completely spoiling anything. And I think the next stage for it, to be honest, is complete destruction. Like I want to let it dry for a week and then go at it with some sandpaper and some knives, and then start painting back into it again. The reason I want to do that is because I think I'll get closer to what what I imagine happening with the texture of it if I do that. It's definitely going in a direction, and I think it's the direction that I had in mind when I started looking at it and I put it together. But it feels like it needs a bit more care and a bit more thought. And maybe this is as far as it goes, I don't know, we'll see. That's a good point. That's a nice comment, Marcia. She says, so interesting how I obsess with a little place that's still missing paint while I'm watching, and I think, I hope Paul sees that and fixes it. You always do, but focus on the big picture stuff first. Yeah, I'm mostly trying to think about relationships at the moment, and I'm not sure, like, it feels like it's almost there, but it hasn't quite got that. When I've got the value relationships bang on and right, and they're working internally, the logic of them works internally in the picture. It feels like painting with light. When I put a brush stroke down, it looks instantly like a shadow, or it looks instantly like light. And some parts of this painting are like that, and other parts aren't. And I'm not, as I say, I think I'm probably not in the best frame of mind to decide which at the moment. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this to dry. I'm going to work over it with a pan scrub and some sandpaper, knock it right back, make it look like an old wall painting or something, and then oil it out and go back into it again. It looks like someone used a potato peeler on the jar. Yeah, I'm just trying to place the values and trying to see the value. What I'm not trying to do is have the jar finished. I'm trying to have the form feel there and right. And I'm just I'm still working out the values, So I'm painting this bit and I'm looking at that bit, and wondering if it's going to work. Susan, when you're asking how to post a picture, do you mean in the community? Oh, you emailed me, didn't you? I meant to get back to you on that. I tell you what would be a really good idea for you the platform that the community runs on is called Circle. So if you did a Google search, how to post a picture in Circle, I'm pretty sure you will find an answer on Google. But in the meantime, I can't do it now, I'm too tired, but I will try and catch up with that for you. That's right, and I'm going to murder it with blades and sandpaper. It's just because it makes a really nice texture, and then it it kind of opens it up again. Give you an idea of the direction I want this to go. This is slightly different because it was a textured panel, but I like that amount of texture and that feeling of it being kind of suffused with light. Like I want that, but I want it with flowers. Do you know what I mean? It just takes it in a different direction. It makes it it's into something else. Yeah, maybe a second, Dempsey says, maybe looking for a second session, maybe on this one, maybe do another session on it. But right now I think I've got just about enough energy to clean my brushes and roll out some pizza dough. And then I'm going to crash. Thank you very much for coming, everybody, and sitting with me for what ended up being over 2 hours. Slow going, this one. We'll see where it goes. Anyway, maybe be back next week with this one or a different painting. Thanks very much, everyone. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.